It feels weird. Like I feel like I'm